Welcome to Built with Purpose. I am Chris Fay, and this is the show where vision meets execution and leadership leaves a legacy. From design studios to innovation hubs and product lines to skylines, we meet the people building more than great companies. They're creating culture, driving impact, and shaping what's next. These are the stories and strategies behind how the world gets built with purpose. Okay, everybody, welcome to Built with Purpose. Today is our second episode of Between the Builds. We started our first episode really kind of recapping and talking about leadership transition. Really cool conversation. I hope you enjoyed that. I wanted to kind of lean a little bit deeper into a topic that really hit home in last week's episode. So we had Ryan and Tim from Client Savvy. Client Savvy is a client feedback tool, really purpose-built for the architecture, engineering, construction industry, but also they do a bunch of stuff outside of that area. Really actually cool stories. So Ryan that was on the call with us, he founded the organization. They've actually sold their company to a company called Clearly Rated that is going to really help them take their client feedback to the next level. And so really, really interesting conversations. But we got into some conversations around customer feedback, client feedback, and the value of listening. So really in today's episode, I thought we would dive a little bit deeper into the value of listening and asking your customers or your people for feedback. First off, I have to just generally say, if you're watching the podcast on any sort of video device, you're noticing I'm wearing my Clemson shirt today. I am a Clemson Tiger. Went to school there, and the football team is okay this year. We're getting ready to take on Syracuse this weekend, and excited to get out there for game day. So you're getting me in my game day gear. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. I think the preseason number 4 ranking probably got to our heads, but we'll see where we end up. So let's kind of talk a little bit about feedback, and it's a little bit about what we talked about in our last Between the Builds. If you remember, we were talking about this leadership transition, kind of having a plan, spending time listening, and then getting people involved to take action to create a vision for the transitions. So this concept of listening. Let's talk about that a little bit with our customers, though. Some really interesting statistics. So I did a little bit of homework on this. So, 1 out of 26 unhappy customers. So if any of your customers are unhappy, 1 out of 26 of them will actually let you know. They'll actually take the initiative to let you know. About 73 to 75% of us as individuals expect our voices to be heard with the vendors and the people that are selling us goods and services. So McKinsey and a couple different reports, actually one of the Client Savvy reports says that when you have a structured feedback program, you can actually increase your net promoter score by somewhere between 10 to 25 points. And when you start thinking around average net promoter scores, they're in like the 30 to 50 range, and best in class being like in the 70s, you start thinking about a 10 to 25% increase in your net promoter score just by having a structured feedback loop. So it was interesting last week when we were talking about, or 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the value of listening to your people. That exact same concept applies to listening to your customers. This is another interesting one from Client Savvy. So roughly 80% of, now obviously they service the architecture, engineering, construction industry. And so 80% of firm leaders that are in AEC firms believe they deliver an above average client experience. 80%, but only 8% of their clients actually agree. So what all of this tells us is, number one, your customers want to be heard. We want to be heard. The people on your team want to be heard. There's a mismatch. We're just not listening to them. Number two is when you actually listen to them, the client experience, the employee experience increases, and you actually deliver a better experience just simply by listening. So my question is, why are we not listening to our teams, and why are we not listening to our customers at the level that they expect? So I want to dive in a little bit to that today to just try and think about, some of the concepts of why you would listen to your customers, and then also how to listen to your customers. The reality is all of our organizations are different, right? My company is different than your company, or maybe the company that you work for, and everybody's going to have a different culture and a means of listening and opening up lines of communication. And hopefully inside of your organization, there's a very strong sense of open dialogue where people are being heard and listened to and taken action on inside of your company. But also, I want to challenge us to be thinking about, are we doing the exact same thing for the people that are paying us as it is our customers? And so thinking through customer satisfaction, client satisfaction, and the voice of the customer, why would you listen to your customers? Well, number one, they're probably one of the best resources for figuring out ways to make change in your company than any other place on the planet. They're actually experiencing the products and the goods and the services and the delivery that you are bringing to market. So whether you're in the architecture industry, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're in the tech space, or whatever your role, the reality is your customers typically know best. And if all we have to do is find a structured means of asking for their feedback, and we know that they want to give it to us, it's simply a lack of taking action. So what are some things we think about when we're getting feedback from customers? Obviously, it's great when we hear that we're doing a great job. Oh my God, like we just sold this product, or we delivered this product, or we finished this project, and man, we're doing a great job. We love hearing that we're doing a great job. We oftentimes don't really enjoy hearing that we're doing a bad job. And sometimes I think that leaders are fearful of asking questions because they're fearful of the responses they're going to get. It's kind of to the like, no news is good news. You start thinking about, well, gosh, subconsciously, if I don't ask, I'm probably not going to find out. And if you're fearful that your company or your team might not be doing a good job, one of the best ways to continue not doing a good job is to not ask. So I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're taking that step to not only embrace the good feedback that we can garner from our customers, but also the bad, the constructive, the criticisms that we can get from our customers. So when I was preparing for today's conversation, I was thinking around like, what are some things that we can do inside of our companies or inside of our teams to begin taking action? And then when we're taking action, what are some means that we can deploy to think about getting value out of those actions? So obviously we said we're not asking and our customers want to tell us. So the very first thing that we can be thinking about doing is to start having a conversation with our customers. Start. What is the one thing that you can do as a leader, as a company, as an organization to begin increasing your level of listening with your customers? Okay, it might be an annual survey that the president and CEO sends out. One thing that we do inside of our company is every year as we prepare for planning, we send out an annual customer survey that listens about us, listens about our relationship with our customers, but also wants to get some additional insights into the customer base. So what's the one thing that you can do? Is it an annual survey? Is it asking one of your team members after every project, after every installation that you do, after every delivery that you do we pick up the phone and simply call the customer and ask a question? Do we send an email? Do your delivery teams or your sales teams, they send emails following up at some checkpoint along the sales cycle or the implementation cycle to begin asking for some personalized feedback? So I would just generally ask you inside of your company, and no matter where you are on your client feedback maturity cycle, what's the one thing that you could do to take one step forward in improving your client feedback? How can you begin doing a better job listening to your customers? That's the one question you have to ask yourself. And then you make a determination on what's that step? And then two, the second thing I think that we all can do is to think about how we humanize the client feedback. How many times have you gone to a vendor, you've gotten your car worked on at the shop, you've ordered something online, and you get some like really randomized email, automated response from some like do not reply at blank, blank, blank.com email address. How like impersonal is that? Like when I get a survey email from some randomized do not reply email address about a recent experience that I had with a particular client, do I really think they're going to be listening to me? And the reality is no. If you can't humanize your client feedback, you're going to have a much harder time getting the actual feedback itself. And I think about, when do I actually respond? If it's coming from a person, if I know they're going to be listening to me, if I know somebody is going to take action or be thinking about the responses that I provide, I'm probably more apt to give feedback, whether it's good or bad. So the second thing I think that we should be thinking about is, how do we humanize our responses? And obviously there are ways to do this at mass scale, no matter the size of your organization, whether it's coming from the CEO, whether it's coming from, a client experience person, might just be coming from your receptionist or somebody on your project team. But how can you take one further step to humanizing your feedback? And again, there's all sorts of ways that you can do that at scale, but the more that you can humanize your feedback and make it actually feel like the client is responding to a person and not some randomized do not reply email address, your response rates are going to go through the roof. And also the client satisfaction is going to begin to go through the roof, because now they know that they're listening. When I send out, and we send out, our annual customer survey, it comes from me as a CEO of the company. I send out to the masses a letter from me. Sometimes it'll be a video from me with a link. We also do follow-ups. So you also need to make sure we're asking multiple times, right, to stay in front of people. It takes on average between 6 to 8 touch points for somebody to actually reply in a lot of different scenarios of outreach. So having a humanized response is the second thing that we can take action on together inside of our companies to begin to increase the satisfaction. And then the third thing is, I start thinking around, what's kind of that next step to improve it, is people not only want to be heard, okay, and that's what we just talked about. People also want to see you taking action. They want to see you listening to the responses that you've provided and to begin to take action. And so there are a couple ways that we can do that. Number one, when a survey comes back in and you get feedback, how are you letting your people know? How are you letting the customers know that you heard them? So if we get a response back, and a lot of our responses we get back, if we get anything positive or if we get anything negative, the first thing that we'll do is we always reply back to whoever took the survey and just said, hey, thank you for your feedback. Really appreciate this. We're going to take action on a few areas. If there's anything that's ever really, really good, or if there's ever anything that's really, really bad, we actually pick up the phone and make a phone call. Hey, I just want to follow back up with you and let you know that I got your response, and I'm really appreciative of you giving me this level of feedback. We're going to take this into our leadership planning and whatever. So I think validating that you're hearing everybody, but then also listening and taking action. And how empowering is it when you have an organization that you actually provide feedback to, and you see them making changes and incremental steps to improve their organization based upon your feedback? What level of loyalty does that begin to build between you and that particular brand? And I start thinking about some of the brands and the experiences that I go through, and the ones that actually ask for my feedback, the ones that actually humanize my feedback, and then the ones that I begin to see taking action over time and improving the experience. All of a sudden, I now know that I'm working with an organization that I want to continue to do business with. So I go back to some of these statistics that we were looking at before. Just having a structured feedback program can increase your net promoter score by somewhere between 10 to 25 points. So if your net promoter score is 50 points and you're able to increase it by 25 points, it's a 50% increase in your net promoter score just by having a structured feedback session. And then think about, what can you learn and what can you improve inside of your organization if you know what to fix and if you know where to focus. And it kind of goes back to our leadership transition that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, in actually taking action and having a vision and the value of people seeing their ideas coming to light. That same thing happens when we take action and on our customers' feedback and our customers' ideas and begin to take action. So look, we're all in business. We all have a lot of stuff going on. We're consuming products and services from other vendors. We're delivering products and services to other vendors. The facts are there. The more that you listen to your teams, your people, and your customers, the better off you will be. They feel heard, and you're getting deeper insights into how to take action to move your organization forward. And then secondarily, how are you humanizing that feedback? How are you making it actually seem like it's a human that's asking for this as opposed to some random do not reply email address? And then how are you actually taking action and communicating to your people or your teams or your customers about the fact that you've been heard and you're now improving your organization upon their feedback? So I go back to the book that I quoted a couple of weeks ago, The One Thing. It's a great book. We cited it in the last podcast. What is the one thing that you can do inside of your organization to move one step closer to an improved customer feedback experience? And over the next 90 days, how can you take one step forward in deploying that inside of your business? And in the next quarter, you can take another step, and the next quarter, you can take another step. So I love talking to Ryan and Tim. They're awesome guys, good friends of ours. They're actually partners of ours that we work with. They have an entire business built around client feedback and benchmarking in the AEC industry. And, they're going to do amazing things. And they really help set the stage to continue this conversation of listening and learning and taking action. So anyway, today was a great episode. I hope this was valuable to you all. I'm excited for next week's guests and for our next episode of Between the Builds. Keep building with purpose. Okay, thanks for joining me on Built with Purpose. If you have enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps more bold leaders find the show. For resources and show notes, visit our website and connect with me, Chris Fay, on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep building great companies, cultures, and legacies with purpose.